Ross Hodge gets win number one, baby, in front of a home crowd. What a way to go.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Evening, guys. What's up? My name is Mountaineer Paul. I'm your host. Welcome back into Locked On West Virginia. Thanks for joining in, guys, as we dive into another episode of Mountaineer Basketball. After a win over Mount St. Mary's in game number one of the season, brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Right now with Game Time, guys, download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Thanks for coming in, guys. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the backyard brawl here in a couple weeks at the end of the show. Stick around for that. Should we be worried, I think, is a topic we'll discuss in segment 2 based on some performances tonight. We'll jump into that. But we're going to start right with the good, right? Ross Hodge gets win number one in a very impressive defensive performance by this team. 20-plus turnovers and really overwhelmed them on the perimeter today. I told you guys to watch out for Mount St. Mary's because they were a good rebounding team and they love to work inside out. That was their game tonight, and it worked for them at times. They decided to make this game a rock fight. They chose to do that, and that's what it was. That's why there were so many fouls, right? They decided to be physical with Honor Huff, Trey Eaglestaff, and company, and try to make it more of a rock fight. And that's because West Virginia, we understand that. We've had to do that with teams that were better than us before, and we've won our fair share of games doing that. I saw some people posting things online. Even Voice of Morgantown, I think, said something about it. You know, I don't necessarily agree, and I'll say why. Yes, we are going to struggle with size at times this year. I don't know about depth or not. You know, I think that it's really easy to overreact to some of the things we saw tonight. Let's just give this team some time to get some things worked out with the rotation. Certainly, we didn't think they were going to be a national championship contending team in year one. So let's just see what it looks like, you know. Is it going to look like what Richard Rodriguez has built in year one, or is it going to look like another iteration of something else? We don't know. So obviously Jasper Floyd is the MVP of the game. It ain't close. And you know why that is? Do you know why Jasper Floyd and Brennan Laurent played so well? Because this is their system. They're used to it. They played in it for years. It makes sense, right? It makes sense that the guys that have been with this staff and understand these philosophies played well in the first game. Along with the freshman DJ Thomas, we got something in our hands with DJ Thomas. What a great defender. I can just see it now. He's going to be a great defender. He's got some offensive game, and he's going to be, by the end of the season, I would imagine, going to be one of our really, really rotational pieces. He can play the 1 through the 4. You know, he really played well today. Well, not 1 through the 4, the 2 through the 4 probably. Maybe 1 through 4. I don't know. Heck. So, you know, let's look at the box score a little bit here because this is a 70-54 win for West Virginia. You won both halves. You scored 35 in each half. It was not pretty at times. And your best players struggled in the game. All in all, you probably feel pretty lucky about it, in my opinion, right? Considering what happened. So, you know, I think there's a lot of positives, more so than negatives in this game. I mean, you shoot 43.8% from the field. You're 5 for 18 from 3. You know, most likely you're going to hit 2 or 3 more, maybe a couple more than that on average. You shot 27% from 3 today. That's probably not going to be the norm through the rest of the season. You shot 65% from free throw. I don't think that's going to be the norm. Jasper Floyd said in the post game that they had the jitters, they were anxious. This is a team playing in the Coliseum in a real game for the first time ever together, and I think it showed. So this team will get a little better. They didn't have an overseas. Well, they didn't have an overseas trip, did they? Since I can't even remember now. It's been so many changes. I'm trying to remember who went where and what. I don't think this team had an overseas trip. If they did, I don't remember it. So, um, Harlan Obioha had a great game last time, and unfortunately, in this one was not his greatest game. If you'd have told me Trey Eaglestaff would have only had 1 point, that would have been shocking. I wouldn't have believed that. I reached out to his high school coach, Jordan Wilhelm, who I've had on this show before, to ask him some stuff. And, Trey's in a new role, and there's a lot being expected of him, obviously, from the defensive side. And this game he's got to get used to this, right? He's been in his used to being heavy usage rate. Every single play, it's on him to score. And that's not necessarily the case here. So they'll figure out a way to work him in, and I think things will be fine. I don't think it's anywhere near time to panic over that. So Brendan Lorient, like we said, 13 rebounds today. So he didn't struggle to rebound today. 11 points. Harlan Obioha, 2 rebounds. That's got to improve, obviously, but he only played in 17 minutes. Trey Eaglestaff had 1 point today, 3 rebounds and an assist. I'm sure he's not happy with that, and he'll get better. Jasper Floyd, obviously 25 points, 4 assists and a rebound. Hunter Huff had 16 points, 1 assist and a rebound. DJ Thomas had 7 points, an assist and a rebound. Thought he had more than that. Morris Agusic had 4 points. Amir Jenkins had 1 point. So if you pay attention, Jaden Forsythe didn't play in this game and company. But just don't forget, guys, before you start freaking out, Chance Moore, who is probably our 6th best player, not our 6th best player, but our 6th man, might be our 3rd best player, is going to be back in 5 games. And so is our other 6'8" big in Jackson Fields. He just got to step out of his wrist today. Those are our 2 crashers. This team's going to look a billion times different when those guys come back. So I just want people to remember, we're not – I think maybe Brad from Voice of Morgantown, maybe he forgot that for a minute when he typed that out, because he said something. I just seen it right before I came on, and I was like, I don't know about that. He said we're going to struggle to rebound with size and one other thing. And I'm not coming at him at all. It's a talking point. So he was thinking maybe we would struggle with size and depth. And I think it's easy to say that with how the team looked tonight, but it's not, because we're going to get 2 of our best rebounders back here in the next two, let's say, week and a half. So, the first 5 games, you're going to be missed without Chance Moore, who is not only one of your best 3-point shooters, he's one of your best overall scorers, and he averaged 7.7 rebounds a game last year, from my memory serves. And then Jackson Fields, who also averaged 7 or 8 rebounds a game on an NCAA tournament team last year. So those are 2 huge pieces. And guess what, guys? The added benefit to this is you get freshman DJ Thomas a lot of minutes early just by force. He wouldn't be playing right now if those 2 guys were in. He may have played 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But he wouldn't be playing like this, not this much. So you get to grow up one of your freshmen, and it's only going to help. So, those are I think Chance is probably 6'7". We know that Jackson is 6'8". Those are 2 huge forwards to get back. And they're both like, you could say, if you told me Jackson Fields was first off the bench, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if he was a starter some games. Just like if you told me Chance Moore was a starter or first off the bench some games, I wouldn't be shocked to hear that either. So let's just don't worry. We're going to be fine, I think. And, let's not get too freaked out by the rebounding numbers. We have more ammo than we shot today. So just remember that. But yes, I think, Harlan Obioha is maneuvering his way around. He's obviously lost a bunch of weight. They had a 7. Listen, you got to give, and sometimes you see the name on the front of a jersey and you underestimate that. That's a really good coaching team last year that won 23 games. And that 7-foot freshman they got, I don't know where they got him from. He looked like a power 4 player to me. Beautiful touch inside, really long and lanky. I really think he probably won't be there more than a year. You see it every year, right? You're like, how in the hell does this lower level team have this player? And yeah, I want to get him. You looking at players in the portal. Diop, they've got one in him. What did he do for them? Let's see. So I'm shocked. He only had 2 points. Seemed like he was so much more impactful than that. Am I thinking about a different guy maybe? Let me see. Man, Lipscomb was tough tonight. Almost 10 rebounds, 5 assists, and 8 points. That's elite. Gosh, that's really good. Let me make sure I'm not looking at the wrong guy. No. Well, I mean, Diop was there on defense a lot and everything as well. Like he was affecting a lot of the plays or a lot of the underneath stuff. Like I've seen he had a couple blocks as well. But yeah, anyways, sometimes you have to give credit to the other team. They got players too. Just because they say Mount St. Mary's on it doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be there. So let's go to break and we'll talk about, should we be worried about this team? I kind of answered some of that just now. We'll talk about it next, right here on Locked On West Virginia. Don't forget to stick around, baby. I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be a good friend of West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by FanDuel. Right now with FanDuel, it's a pretty simple thing. The NBA is back, and there's nothing better than to get in on the action with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. Keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving away $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 is a winner. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your FanDuel today, which is the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Good Lord. I said the official spets boarding partner, the spets boarding partner. What the heck is that? I'm going to have to start doing those. You ever see singers? They do that thing before you sing. I think maybe I need to do that. Gosh, I don't know. Sometimes your tongue just gets twisted. All right. So, should we be worried? I don't think so. I already out, I meant to go to break and then start leading into this, but this is a team that I think is going to get them. Not only are they going to improve, and there are going to be games where Trey Eagles staff and company are really going to do damage. And it's going to seem like, man, this is great. Maybe it's the next game, but I think tonight was first game jitters. It was, then it was finally real for the first time. And at the end of the day, you still got a double-digit win. I had them scoring about 10 more points in this game than what. So, I think that they could have done that by the end of the year. I think this team would have done that. But I'm proud of them. I think they played well considering the circumstances in the first year. So, but I mean, like going forward, I would imagine that Mo Agusic is probably not going to play 21 minutes, especially after those gentlemen come back. Like the usual suspects of Lorient, Obioha, Eagle Staff, Floyd, Huff. Yes, they're going to be playing that 20 to 35-minute roles. It just depends on each night. DJ Thomas, I think, is right where he needs to be at 19 minutes. I thought he played a little bit more than that. But he had a great impact on the game. And I like Amir Jenkins at about 12 minutes right now until he gets his feet wet. He's kind of like, in that KJ Tenor role where he's just like feeling it out. But, once the two bigs come back, like I was saying, this is why I'm not worried. Once the two bigs come back, we're going to be fine, I think, which, and obviously Chance Moore brings a great scoring element to the team as well. And Eagles, and I think Fields is really going to help because he's that glue guy, right? If you go look at his Troy stuff, I watched 2 of his Troy games back to back one day, just bored watching, prepping for the season. And he was on the floor. He was tipping balls, like getting rebounds. He's tipping them back out to himself and other people. He had a really great game against Kentucky in the NCAA tournament. He had a good game. I think he had like 7 or 8 points, 7 or 8 rebounds against them. So, he's going to be a big addition. We just kind of have to wait for the bones to really kind of get healed up. It's non-shooting hand. He's going to come right back in, and it's going to be fine. So, yeah, but don't overreact to Eagle Staff at all, guys. He just a little off today. Once these guys get a rhythm going in the season, it's going to be a treat to watch. But it's going to take a little time. There's going to be some growing pains. I hate that Pitt's in 2 games, but it is what it is, right? I think at the end of the day, we just kind of got to hope that this team gets ready. So, really happy for Ross Hodge, though. I think he has he's acquitted himself quite well. He's been just overall a really positive impact on the program. To watch him speak, to hear him talk about, the way he does things and all that. And look, here's another thing that I forgot about at this point. Normally I have bullet points, to kind of keep me on my talking points going. This is kind of just off the dome. But so obviously the defense worked, right? They got 20-plus turnovers. It was really a good – they played I think that gets lost on us all. They played a very good defensive game tonight, and that's only going to continue to be good for us. On nights when you have nights like this, you get 20 turnovers, you're going to win, or you're going to be right there. And that's all you can really ask for, especially once you get the Big 12 play. That'll be the test for this team. I think if I had to point out one thing, I'm not going to say they can't do it until I see them not, but the physicality of the Big 12, I'll be interested to see how they handle. I was kind of hoping, Obioha would dominate tonight, kind of keep what he, on the track he was on. It doesn't mean that he won't going forward. I'm not selling out on anybody yet, but I did want to see Obioha kind of do a little more bashing and banging and just being involved down low. But sure, everybody gets 1 or 2 games here and there to, can you imagine being in the situation? You've got 12, 13 guys all playing your first game together. And there's a passionate fan base who's had 4 different coaches in 4 years watching you. It would be some pressure, and you're getting paid to do it. I wouldn't want to do it. And, I would, but I would be nervous about it. The freshmen played well off the bench. Correct. They did. Absolutely. Let's go to break one more time. On the other side, guys, let's look ahead a little bit for this team. What's coming up? The backyard brawl, and we'll preview that for a second on Locked On West Virginia. Stick around. This episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by our friends at Game Time. College football is back, and I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. There's really just nothing like that. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel a little more like the battle than even the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping up at checkout. You're like, wait, wasn't that $10 cheaper a minute ago? That's why I use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices. There's no surprise fees at checkout. What you see, what you pay, right? So I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple taps, I saw amazing deals talking about your favorite college football games for as low as $25. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase, where the terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off today. Swipe, tap, ticket, go download Game Time today. Swipe, tap, ticket, go download Game Time today, and you'll find out the answer to the question of all questions. What time is it? It's game time. We're back. We're back in segment 3. A Diet Dooski. All right. So, looking ahead is what we're doing here. All right. So, on the schedule for West Virginia coming up here, you got Campbell, you got Lehigh on November 9th. So it's literally, let's see. You want to know something funny? There's always a 13-9 connection. We play them on the 13th, which is 9 days away from today. So, yeah, I know I brought it up. It is what it is, isn't it? I mean, it's just crazy, though. So we play them on November 13th, 9 days from today. Pitt, obviously. And, they had, obviously my friend, and obviously somebody I have massive respect for, Jay Kuntz, is the GM there. But it's a weird situation because I want Jay to be successful, but I don't want Pitt to be successful. So, and they can't both be the same thing necessarily. So, I have to kind of root against you in this case. But, it's going to be fun when that game happens. I'm sure he really wants to win it. It'll be a storyline going in. Maybe I can get him on the show that week. I doubt it. We'll try, though. We'll try. Let's see. Look up some of their – I have notes somewhere I'm trying to find of the Pitt team I'd done earlier in the offseason to kind of look and preview their team. But have they played yet this year? Let's see. Yes, they played yesterday. They beat Youngstown State 74-59. So, okay. Obviously they've typically been a pretty good team under the, a decent team. I don't feel like they've ever been elite under him, under Capel. But they always have really good guards, it seems like, and I wonder if it's going to be a fun guard matchup, I think, when we play them. So, okay. I just had to look it up because I couldn't find my notes under while I was live here. So, okay. In the game yesterday, looks like Cameron Corhin had a monster game. Holy cow. 23-12. Brandon Cummings, 18-2. DeMarco Minor had 8, 6-3. Papa Amadou Kante, had 10 boards in that game. So it looks like they might be another good rebounding team. But their rotation's not big really at all. I think they play. It looks like they played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys. And really they only played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys more than everybody else played 9 minutes or less. They played 7 guys 17 minutes or more. And the everybody else is like 3 minutes, 1 minute, 1 minute. So, it looks like they've got pretty well a 7-man, 8-man rotation going, at least so far. We'll dive a little deeper into that. Let's see. I had something to do a check on them. Okay. So strengths and weaknesses right now. I found some of my notes. Is this it? Yep. Okay, cool. So from what I've researched about them, they have a lot of size across the front court between Corhin, Conte, and Silupa. I don't know how to pronounce these names, obviously. They've got a lot of defensive versatility. And these specific players have been really good at clamping down at their previous places. Looks like they don't have a superstar unless Corhin continue to be that. It looks like during the off season, like during their exhibition, they had some sloppy starts, really struggled with offensive consistency. They had a really plagued exhibition opener, I think. At least this is from an article here that I'm looking at. I'll do more research on it. I don't want to sit here and try to guess it what their opener was like. But we'll see what this Pitt team looks like come by the time we play them. Obviously, their schedule's not real difficult either. Before they play us, they play Longwood, and then they play an Eastern Michigan team, which is a Division I school. But they won their first game, and then their second game is Pitt. So, we don't really know what they are, but I think they were like a top. Trying to remember last year in the MAC, what did they do in basketball? I can't remember, but they weren't in the top 5 anyway in the MAC. So, unless they brought a bunch of dudes back, which is unlikely on a good team in the MAC without Portal, Pitt's probably going to beat them, and we should be undefeated going into that game. So we'll see who's what by then. Obviously, they've got the continuity edge with Capel and company still there, but they've got a lot of new players just like we do. So it'll be exciting. I mean, listen, I think I like playing the brawl early like this. It gives you something to look forward to early in the season when typically that's like you're playing a lot of games that don't necessarily matter outside the Big 12, and they're usually like games like this where it's like, yeah, it's exciting, but not like that Pitt game where I'm going to be on the edge of my seat and I'm going to be screaming at every possession. Tonight I was pretty relaxed, given that I'm, I think, and I want to ask you guys this really quick too before we get off here. Do you think the 4 coaches in 4 years, this will be your question and answer segment for the comments below. Do you feel like the 4 coaches in 4 years thing? I used to live and die with every possession when Bob Huggins was the coach because we had expectations every year, right? Like if we were Bob Huggins' coach team and we struggled like that today, I'd be in panic mode a little bit. Depending on how many people we brought back and everything. But I mean, usually that's not the case when you've got continuity. That's the point of it. You're usually keeping 1 or 2 guys here and there. And, every now and again, you'll have a full team back. And under Coach Huggs, obviously we had a good one coming in that year. But, I feel like we've had so many turnarounds one year to the next now. It's like, there just hasn't been expectations for this program in 4 years. There haven't been expectations for the football program until, if you want to say this year in the beginning, there were, okay, but generally in 7 years. So it's like we're coming up on half a generation. Um, well, no, not I don't. I think is that generation 50 years or is it longer? I don't know. I don't. It doesn't really matter. Let's just say we're coming up on a decade in football of almost nothing, which is like, you know, I mean, pretty significant. And then 4 years in basketball is also significant. I used to like when we had expectations every single year. I'll never forget when Gino and those guys went and lost to Texas Tech. That was crushing. I was crushed over that. You know, it was a windy day in Lubbock and we just couldn't throw it. Boy, that was a horrible day, and that was like one of the last teams I expected us to be college football playoff material, right? Or BCS at that time. We had some teams under Dana with Greer and company where it's like, I think we lost in week 6 or 7, week 5, maybe something like that. So it was pretty early on. We figured it out. Like we weren't going to, and obviously back then, one loss, you were done. Nowadays you can get away with 2 if you lose the right games to the right people, win the right games. But I'm off track. My overarching point is we haven't had expectations in this program in a while, and it would be nice to get back to that. So hopefully things go well this year. I really do feel like if things go well, Ross Hodge will stay. I felt the same way about Darren, and certainly somebody could buy him away, I'm sure, if it really came down to it. But I do feel like Ross Hodge loves it here and wants to stay. But obviously we got a long way to go before we can figure out whether that's a good thing or not. I mean, he could be another Neil Brown, right? I mean, he could move up, be the nicest, sweetest guy in the world, and just struggle to win. It happens to coaches all the time. Or he could be a killer, and he could be a guy that comes in and is like a TJ Holzenberger for God, I can't ever say his name right, but for Iowa State. That, your Sweet 16 was like the expectation every year. What is it going to be for Ross Hodge? If you let everybody else around the country tell it, we're pretty daggone, our future's bright with him. So there's a lot to look at with that. So, I'm excited. Obviously, though, basketball's still going, but this is still football season. And so before we get off here, I just want to say I have a lot of football takes coming up here the next couple of days you'll probably want to be a part of. So stick around. I would do more than 2 videos today if I could. Trust me. Otzenberger. Yeah, Otzelberger. I can never say it. I'm looking at the comments and people are like telling me. If you're listening to this on audio, I'm looking at the comments. People are trying to explain to me how to say it. So, I've got a lot of football takes I want to have with you guys, and we're going to do a crossover with Colorado. I think day after tomorrow, I'm going to try to get, a couple other people on here. There's also a West Virginia player I'm going to reach out to that played at Colorado. I want to ask him about that this week. I bet you nobody else has thought of that story yet. I'm probably the only one. I've now announced it to everybody. Dang it. Why did I do that live? Should have waited till I reached out to him first. And that's it. Thank you guys for being patient. I know you guys are all asking a lot of questions about things, and just move on. Okay. And I think the majority of you guys know, I just took a small little break and we're good. We're good now. So, listen, here's the thing. I went for like 400 days recording 2 shows a day, 7 days a week. Raven's in the chat right now. Am I lying, Raven? I'm not exaggerating that. Like I went extremely hard, and there was days when I did 5 or 6 videos even, so and then also doing other people's shows. So that does take a toll on you, and there's a lot of moving parts to that, right? So I just I'm grateful that you guys are so supportive of me. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, and for being your part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your team every single day. And let's talk some more tomorrow. I'm excited about it. There's a lot to get into with West Virginia football and such. And I think we will definitely be talking about just the future of this program. And can we get to a bowl game? Who would have thought, right? From the depths. You guys ever saw Pirates of the Caribbean? You know, the guy, Davy Jones, right? The guy that does his accent. I always try to mimic that, right? From the milky depths, that guy. So, yeah. Do you feel death? Oh, gosh. I probably need to go to bed, huh? I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Thanks for making me Locked On West Virginia your first listen. Check out Locked On Big 12 if you get time. Drake Toll does a correct job there. He does a great job. He is crushing the game right now too. So he deserves all the love and support, and he just crushing it over there. So make sure you check them out, and we'll see you guys on the next one. I'm excited. West Virginia gets a win. First game of the season with Ross Hodge. They deserve it. Hopefully they enjoy it. Move on. We'll see what they do against, is it Campbell, Lehigh, one of the two. And we'll definitely cover that game. I'll try to have somebody on to talk about it. And we'll talk football tomorrow. But until then, guys, let's have a great day. And don't forget to cue those country roads. Good night.